friends, and welcome to today's video. I have my current work in progress that I actually just started, which is the cloud sweater by Petite Net. It's my second go at this sweater and I'm already planning on filming a lot of videos about this. This video is less about this project and more about chatting with you guys. I thought it was about time to have a little more of a catch up, more of a chatty kind of video where we can just knit and talk together. So whatever you guys are working on, I hope that we are able to hang out, knit together for a little bit and cozy up because it's craft time and we're going to be talking about some of my crafting plans for the year. I'm already anticipating having to move soon because the sun is slowly creeping in, but it is nice to be in the sun. I feel like I never really film in this position in my room, but it is fun because this is the cozy chatty kind of video, so I feel like it's the perfect setting. As always, let me know in the comments what project you're working on during this video or just in general what your current project is. I mentioned a little bit, but I am making my second take at the cloud sweater. Cloud sweater is honestly like my dream staple, like very basic sweater. I had my first go at it about a year ago and it was like my first time making like a knit sweater and following an actual pattern. Before that, I made one raglan sweater, so that definitely does count, but I would mostly just knit like rectangles. So this is my first time like reading a pattern too, and while I do think the pattern is beginner friendly, there were just like a lot of things that like I had to learn throughout the process. So even at the beginning of making that sweater, my plan was always to try to make another one later after having kind of like a practice run at the pattern. So the first one I made was with a much cheaper yarn. Now I am making my second one with actual mohair. This is Air Drops yarn and I can already feel the difference. Honestly, I made my other one with Lion's brand fisherman wool, so it's pretty itchy, and also the whole plot of making that sweater was that I like didn't follow the instructions and I made it way too big and I didn't understand anything really about knitting at the time, so I didn't really get like changing the needle size or the gauge swatch, and then my sweater ended up being really massive. But the actual knitting part I think went relatively well, but I'm hoping that this one will turn out better in all aspects so that I can wear it more. So in this pattern, I just started it off today and I'm currently working on making the back yoke. I relearned how to do German short rows like literally an hour ago, and it was kind of confusing in the beginning, but I found a really good tutorial on TikTok that made it a lot easier for me to understand, and since watching that video, I feel like it's been going fairly well. Alright, so that was enough yapping about my current project. Now to get into the topic of today's chatty video, which is the crafting plans that I have for this year, 2026. I want to preface too that I've been brainstorming a lot, and realistically, I think your crafting plans add a lot to them, but you also get rid of some things throughout the year. So by no means is this like what I'm actually gonna follow, and also by no means do I expect to actually complete all of these or even like half of these projects, because I have a lot of things on my list. What can I say? I'm a girl who is overambitious and I set a lot of crafting goals. Also being realistic and knowing that my goal isn't to make all of these. I just like having a clear list of ideas so that throughout the year I won't be ever wasting time not working on a project. I'll always know at least a little bit what is going to be coming up next or what I want to work on next. I also did this a little different, I think, than I did in the past years. I think in the past years I just like would have a list of a couple things, but this year I have a lot larger of a list, and I also sectioned it into like different specific categories for the type of craft that it is. So let's just get into overviewing my very large intensive list of things that I want to make this year. First, let me look at this pattern and make sure I'm not messing myself up. I'm gonna start off by talking about the projects that I already have made a move on so far this year. As I'm filming this, it's January 14th, so we're like half of the way into January, and I'm proud to say that I already knocked one thing off of my crafting list, which was another pair of sailor slippers. If you guys were keeping up, I was basically making sailor slippers for all of like the last 2 months of 2025. That is because I made a pair for my dad, and then I also made a pair for Alex for Christmas. I knew when I bought the pattern that I wanted to make a pair for myself. I just didn't have time to do that last year. I would say like ideally I would have made myself a pair first just to like test the pattern out, but it actually ended up working out just great. I think that the pair I made for my dad and the pair that I made for Alex turned out really nice, and they both actually wear them, which is such a win. If you know, you know, when you make handmade gifts, it's kind of like a toss-up. I feel like if people are gonna actually like it and use it, I don't know, it's just kind of vulnerable giving like a handmade gift. So I made both of those in the end of last year, and I finally got to making myself a pair, and I finished that like honestly in the first week of January, but it ended up taking a little bit longer because I made Alex's and my dad's pair when I was home in Washington, where we have a much better washer and dryer, versus I made mine completely here at my apartment, and the washer and dryer situation here is not great. Like I kind of had a sense that I was gonna have some troubles just because like my washer can't even wash normal clothes. Like how is it gonna felt slippers for me? But like when I wash normal clothes in my washer, half the time I feel like the stuff doesn't get washed because it gets detergent stained. I don't know, I just think it's a really bad washer. I had a little suspicion and I was right because they turned out so funky looking. Like they looked really hairy, and I don't know if it's because my washer was too aggressive or not washing it deeply enough, but either way it turned out like really funky looking. I ended up just shaving it with a razor, which a lot of people commented when I posted about that they had similar issues, so I guess it's not uncommon, and you're able to just like buzz it off if you have a razor. I used a handheld, just like really cheap razor to kind of scrape it off, but that ended up taking a little extra time. And then I also felted mine once, and I don't know why, I think I tried it on with really thick socks, so I thought they fit. Then after I like shaved them and dried them and tried them on again, I was like, oh, these most definitely do not fit. And so then I had to do the entire washing and shaving process again, so it ended up taking a little bit longer. That was the first pattern I had done last year. I like halfway through the year I decided to make like a very like just in my notes app a list of all the things that I've like made, and then also a list of all the things I've like knit and crochet, just because I knew I was gonna make a video about everything that I knit and crochet every year. And so having a list kind of made it a lot easier to track all of the things that I made rather than just going through my camera roll, which takes a little bit more time and more likely that you would miss stuff. And so I'm keeping up with that list this year. I just write down the dates that I finish it, but it also gives you a really nice like visual of all the projects you actually completed, because sometimes it feels like you're getting nowhere with them, but then once you look at your actual list with dates, it's kind of cool to see like, like I remember January. I remember what was going on in January, you know? That's the one project I have finished so far this year, which I thought was a good start. But the second project, the one that I just started today, I'm hoping this doesn't take too long to make now that I know a little bit better, and I think I have gotten faster at knitting. But last time I made the cloud sweater, I think it actually kind of took me a little while. I had this on my list just because I knew I wanted to give my second go at it and successfully knit one after my little failure last time. I wanted to redeem myself with this yarn, this mohair that I thrifted, that I knew would be perfect for this project. This is also only my second time knitting with mohair, so I feel like I'm treating myself by knitting with the mohair. Like I feel really fancy. So the next thing on my list, this is my knitting section. This top, by looking at it, it doesn't look that difficult, but I think just the shaping of it looks really flattering on everyone that I've seen wearing it or styling it. I feel like this would just be such a fun top to, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I was not paying attention. But I think this would just be such a fun top and a relatively quick top to make, but also so fun to style. The next item on my list is a metal clasp bag. I just filmed a video on this, and that video was for a crochet version, but I really want to try making a knit version, specifically with cable knit, just because learning how to do cable knit is silly enough. It's on my New Year's resolutions list, and I feel like this would be a good kind of easy way to introduce cable knit, just because in my head, I would just knit like a rectangle and then seam it together and stitch it around the metal clasp. I already have a full video on learning how to crochet with the metal clasp, and I think it would be relatively similar to this just because it's just making the shape and then attaching it to the clasp. I actually made that little clasp flower pouch for my mom, and so I totally want to make one that looks like identical for myself too, but I think I would try doing a cable knit one first, even though I really like how the jasmine stitch turned out. I thought it was really pretty. So I do want to incorporate the jasmine stitch or make the exact same pouch again at some point because I think it turned out really good. The next thing that I wrote down isn't a specific project, but it is a type of yarn that I want to knit with, and that is the Wool and the Gang self striping yarn. I don't know exactly which color I would use yet either. I think I know I want to do like either a simple like button cardigan or just a normal sweater, like a very simple sweater with it, but I haven't decided what yet. But I've seen a lot of videos of people using this and I'm always so drawn to it. I think part of it is that they have such nice colorways that I would love to have just like a beautiful earthy tone self-striping sweater. Like, they're so gorgeous. Okay, lots of moving going around, but my camera actually started overheating from being in the sun. The next item I had listed is the Marielle blouse, and I thought this was just so pretty. I actually have no idea how difficult this would be to make. Like, honestly, this might be a little too complicated for a beginner gal like me right now, but I just think it's really pretty. Like, I would love to wear this, but maybe I'm not at the point of knitting it yet. You will see on my craft list that I tend to have that flaw when I'm brainstorming things. I think I wrote down a lot of things that are out of my skill level, but that's okay because they can just carry on to next year's list. Like, maybe I'll get there someday. Next, I wrote down a Baba sweater dupe, and so I think I found two that I like. One was the Lakes pullover, I think it was called, by Ozetta. I think that one's really popular just in general, but also as like a Baba dupe. So that one's honestly kind of higher up on my list. I would say my list is like a little bit organized from top to bottom of like the ones that I want to do the most, but not like super strictly. But if it is, I feel like this one should maybe be closer to the top because the sweater doesn't look that difficult and I feel like it would be such a nice basic to have. I forgot what the other one was. I think the other one that I liked was more of a button down, very simple cardigan. I do want to try knitting more of a cardigan with buttons. I feel like that would be a good next step in my knitting journey. I also said a pair of socks. Kind of thinking ahead, think that learning how to knit socks would be really good for next year's Christmas gifting season. I think I've shared this before. I don't know, I'm worried I won't wear hand knit socks just because I feel like I'll ruin them so easily. I don't know, just like out of all the things I can knit, I feel like socks wear out so quickly that if I knit them, like I'm never gonna reach to wear them because I'm not gonna want to ruin them. I also said in my knitting category a felted bag or baskets. Saw one felted bag where they added like a zipper that I thought was really cute. I think making something like that would be really cool, maybe out of like scrap wool yarn that I have from all of the million sailor slippers that I made. But this might just be more of like an experimenting with felting slash scrap kind of project for me, but I feel like felting would be such a good way to make something that should be a little more sturdy like a bag or a basket, a little bit more durable than if it is just knit. I think we're almost done with the German short rows. Wow, yapping about crafting ideas makes my German short rows go by so quick, which is really nice because I don't know, I feel like people complain about them or like intimidated about them, and to be quite honest, I completely am too, but now that I learned how to do it, I think it's been going pretty well. It hasn't been too bad. That's assuming that I'm doing it right, which I think I am. Next, I said the Augusta lace scarf, which if you guys have been here for a little while, you would know my whole, oh my gosh, my whole spiel about this thing. It's even like more funny as time goes on. This was the first knitting pattern that I bought. Tell me why I thought doing this like intricate lace detailed scarf was gonna be my first knitting project ever. Like, I was actually a fool. And I think it made picking up knitting so much harder because I kept trying to learn how to do this pattern. Like, I think if I put my mind to it, I probably could do it semi-okay this year, but I'm putting it on my list because I need to do it at some point. Like, I bought the pattern, I bought the yarn for it, but I honestly don't know if this is gonna be, the year. Either like a granny square scoodie hoodie scarf kind of thing, or Sophie hood, or some kind of like hood scarf. I also wrote down the miloette head over. It's more of just like a hood pullover that I thought was really pretty. But I've been thinking about this like a lot. Like I almost made some kind of scoodie or hood scarf as my second project of the year instead of starting this, but just like realistically, I don't know if I'll ever wear it. Like I live in the East Bay in California, so I already feel kind of like insane if I'm wearing like a jacket that's too big. Maybe I'll wear it in Washington when I go visit home, but I feel like it's January. Like I'm not gonna need that till the end of the year. So I decided against making it right now, but maybe I'll try to make one in preparation for the winter month. The other thing is if I go on like a trip somewhere that's colder, I think I would make this sooner because I think they're really cute. I want to try making one and I want to wear one. I just like need the right place to wear it so that I don't feel insane. Okay, I also wrote down a felted lampshade. I think I'm probably gonna move sometime this year just into like a different apartment. So I've been thinking of different more like home decor things that I want to make and how I want to integrate like knitting or crocheting or just different craft projects with that in mind. I saw a couple different kinds of like knit lampshades, but I thought the felted lampshade that I saw was really cool. Next, I said the Edda mittens, which is again, it's kind of like the same thing as the hoodie scarf. Like I don't want to feel insane. Like I really don't wear mittens or gloves at all. Like I don't know when I would ever need them, but I just thought these were really pretty, so I put them on my list. Okay, so this is like the crazy one. Oh my gosh, this one's like actually insane. I like have very little hope for myself that I will do this one this year if ever, but this sweater, oh my gosh, I just think it's really pretty. I guess part of me does worry a little bit, like what if I, you know, learn how to do this color work and it takes forever, because honestly this looks so hard to make and then I like get sick of the style of it. Like it feels so much safer to make something like this, like a plain brown sweater that one like is not nearly as difficult to make but also like won't really go out of style. But then at the same time I see this and I'm like, this is the cutest thing I've ever laid my eyes on. Like if I was a sweater, this would be me. I don't know, it's on my list. Another resolution I had was to learn how to do color work, and silly little me put this down as my color work example, which I don't think is very feasible, but this is just, to be honest, right now in this very moment, this is my dream sweater. Okay guys, we are only through the first, what was that, like 15 ideas, and they were all for knitting. All the other like sections of my to craft list though are a lot shorter just because I've just been so obsessed with knitting that all I think about is knitting, and all my projects that I'm planning around are knitting related. But my next section is crochet. And I do have some crochet projects listed here that I'm excited about. So I think I will get a lot of these done, and a lot of these are, that's not true. I was gonna say a lot of these are smaller, but I'm looking at it and a lot of these are not smaller projects. So we'll see what happens. The first thing on my crochet to craft list for 2026 is the Gazelle headband. Gazelle headband, which is so pretty. I guess I could also just say like in general doing filet crochet is on my list, and I think this is one that will like definitely happen. To be honest, I think right after finishing this sweater, or maybe not even like after finishing it, maybe during making it, this is the next thing I think that's on my crafting list. Other filet crochet items I want to make are, one, like a triangle hair scarf, but like a larger one. I don't even know if I should call it a hair scarf because I mainly want to wear it as like a side accessory over jeans, which I don't know if anyone relates to this, but sometimes like with clothing in general, whether it's clothing I thrifted or clothing I like upcycled or things I made, like sometimes it just feels like too much. Like I feel like if I just like go do my normal like daily boring tasks and I'm wearing like a crazy crochet like side scarf over my jeans, I just feel like I'm too much for the world. Like why is this girl dressing up to get her daily groceries, you know? I don't think that'll stop me because I think this would be really cute and I love how it looks, like popping out from underneath a sweater or just like covering part of your jeans. I don't know if this is too like trendy, but I also figured if I don't wear this over my jeans, it could also just become like a hair scarf again. The other filet crochet thing that I really want to make, which I'm leaning towards filet crochet, but it could also be like literally any other pattern or grand granny square or anything is little curtains. Obviously like huge curtains like this would be amazing if they were crochet, but that would actually take like forever. But I think if I had like a window, like, you know, like a window in your kitchen and you have like the half curtains, like the cafe curtain, I want a window in my kitchen so bad. I feel like it just makes life feel more whimsy. So that's my goal. My goal is to move somewhere where there's a window in my kitchen for the very purpose of being able to crochet curtains for it. I also wrote down a strawberry drawstring bag, and then I wrote down to line it. I don't even know if this was last year. No, I don't think it was, but I made like a drawstring lemon pouch. It's what I use to hold my everyday makeup, and I think it's really cute. When I made this, I was planning on making more of these in different fruits or styles, but I just like never got to it. I definitely want to make one of these in like a strawberry style, and I do think it would be really cute if I like sewed in a lining or sewed in like some kind of pockets or something like that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be for like skincare or makeup like I'm using the other one for. I think it would even be cool to hold like some different crafting supplies or use like more on the go in my computer bag. Next, I wrote down crochet granny square clothing. I used kind of like a thread yarn to make a really delicate granny square, and then I just like hand sewed it onto a top. And I made this at some point last year and I was obsessed with it. Wait a second, I wasn't paying attention. I might have knit too much. Oh, I think I didn't even realize it, but I think I'm done with my short rows. Oh guys, thank you for being here. I'm not even kidding. Like, talking to you guys has made doing this part of the project go by so much faster. It's kind of like a life hack. We're gonna take a pause on my crafting plans because I need to measure my project to make sure I haven't messed anything up yet. It's supposed to be 3¼ inches. Yeah. Wait, perfect. Okay, we have moved yet again, but I'm very, very happy to report that I in fact did not mess up, and we are right on track with our project, which is the best news that I could possibly get right now. It is feeling so soft. I'm really, really excited about this, and I like how the color is turning out too. So this is looking amazing so far, and now we're just doing stockinette back and forth for a very, very long time. I have one more crochet project to talk about. Did I finish talking about the last one? That was something I made last year, and I wanted to make more items, and I didn't necessarily have like an actual plan for it, like if it was gonna be more t-shirts or different styles of shirts, or I thought it would be cool on like a hoodie or like crew neck, but I didn't have an actual plan. But I just wanted to make more of them and kind of play around with it, but I never ended up doing that. So I do want to do that at some point this year if I like find the right pieces to like upcycle. I think that would be really fun. The last thing that I want to crochet, of course, is the very biggest thing, which is a crochet blanket. It's kind of funny because I have a crochet blanket and I filmed the process of making that one. I love how it turned out, like all these things, but I actually don't use it very much, which I hate to admit, but it's just like, I don't know. I think it's kind of like what I was saying about the socks. Like I have other blankets and like, I don't know, like maybe you like stain it, or I'm scared it'll just like come undone or something. So I just like actually don't use the one that I handmade for months very much. I opt to use like my cheap fuzzy one, but this doesn't stop me because I still want to make more crochet blankets. I just like really enjoyed the process of making it, and I get so much inspo on Pinterest for different crochet blankets. All the ones I like are granny square style, and I think it would just be really fun. I really want to get like a hutch or like a blanket ladder or something where I can like display the blankets that I've made, so that it's kind of like doubles as like, yeah, it's a blanket but it's also decor. My next category is very small, but I made a little section for items that I want to thrift flip or try sewing. So the first thing I wrote down is the Suzanne like lined trench jacket. I kind of want to make my own version of that, thrift a little short trench and then try lining it with some kind of fabric to give it a little pop. Other thing I wrote down is just something with mixed buttons, whether it's like a top or a cardigan. I feel like this would be really, really fun. I've been loving the buttons. I feel like they add so much fun to any clothing piece, and I feel like this would be a really easy and like very personalizable thrift flip also. Okay, so I guess I just started with the biggest category and I talked the most about my future knitting projects, but we are on on the last category, which is other DIYs. Very vague, but this category is also not super long. The first one I wrote down, I'm planning on doing pretty soon, and that is decorating a leather journal case. We're kind of just figuring out my own journal ecosystem, and I feel like there's a lot of ways to kind of DIY or personalize this along the way. I already ordered a leather case. I just got it off of Etsy and it should be coming in pretty soon, but I'm still deciding what exactly I want to do. I think on the leather case, I probably want to try like cross stitching, maybe like my initials or flower or something, but also like on the little journal inserts, I think it would be really fun and like honestly less pressure to cross stitch a design onto those. I also want to find fun and like personal charms to decorate the journal case. Next, I said beaded stitch markers. I've wanted to make this for a long time too, but I think I just put it off because I have stitch markers and they're totally functional and fine, and to be honest, they probably work better than if I were to make beaded ones, just because these ones that I'm using right now, perfect timing, I use kind of like the clothespin ones. You can clip them and unclip them, which is honestly way more helpful, I think, than the way that I would make a beaded one, because the beaded one probably wouldn't be able to clip and unclip. But that being said, I do just feel like this would be a fun thing to have, like a more custom, like cutesy stitch marker. It would be so fun to like look at on all of your projects. I'm sure there's ways to make it more like a clip too. Like I think you could just use like a jewelry clasp rather than using like wire and making it a circle. Okay, the next one I said is wallpaper. So going back to the like moving thing, I am really hopeful that I'll be able to do more like apartment styling and apartment DIYs. I did stick and peel tiles for my kitchen at this apartment, but I think peel and stick wallpaper would be so fun. I think it's really intimidating because one, I'm scared that like it won't actually be peel and stick and it will like completely wreck the walls, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe it's like worth it to lose your security deposit. I don't know. I think that the peel and stick wallpaper can look really, really nice, and it just like adds so much to a space and definitely makes a space feel more homey and like less rented. Then again, I started looking at some peel and stick renter friendly wallpaper, and I didn't realize how expensive wallpaper is, so that might be another reason that I don't end up doing this one. Another thing I wrote down, which is kind of vague, but I saw this video on how this girl uses her sewing machine. It might have like a special attachment or like something different, but she basically uses her sewing machine and a certain stitch to like freehand embroider like letters and words and designs onto clothing instead of having like an embroidery machine, obviously, because that's a whole different thing and expensive. I feel like this would be so fun and a nice like medium if you don't have an embroidery machine, or if you're used to embroidering things by hand. You could get kind of this specific, like, I feel like it's a very kind of like messy artsy style, which is right up my alley. We're already on my last one. Wait, I'm kind of surprised. Very last thing on my to craft list for 2026 is not an item itself, but is to take another ceramics course. I took my very first ceramics class this year, and then I ended up taking another 6-week course. It was such a challenge, but it was also so fun, and I learned a lot, and I have so much more to learn because I'm honestly really bad at it. That is definitely on the list because I really would love to keep up with pottery and ceramics and improve on it and kind of keep the ball rolling there, because it's pretty intimidating and there is a pretty big learning curve with doing ceramics. So definitely want to keep working on it until I can actually make the things that I want to make. I think it was fun taking the course, but at the same time it was kind of frustrating because I had all this inspo. As soon as I started taking classes, I was like, oh, I am not even capable of making the things on my Pinterest inspo because I cannot pull walls up further than like 2 inches. So taking another pottery class is definitely on my list, but also being able to make more functional items is definitely a goal of mine. We got a lot of knitting done, and we also were able to lay out all of the crafting plans that I have for 2026 and a lot of the delusional ones as well. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for crafting and chatting with me. If you were crafting during this video, comment below what you're making or comment the top thing on your list for crafting this year. I would love to hear it, and it might just have to make its way onto my list too, because my list is forever ever growing. But other than that, thank you guys so much for joining me, for crafting with me, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.